was about to show me his power rankings for the 2021 LCS League of Legends Spring. Um, so Eric, tell me when you've pulled that up. Okay, so it's up on the screen. So, okay, let's look. So my first impressions are that you're kind of on point, and we said we wouldn't do any research. Did you do any research?
I didn't do any research. So all of these rankings were just word of mouth or teams that I've heard my friends talk about.
Okay, so tell me what you've
So,
heard of some of these teams that made you put them the way you did.
okay, so Cloud9. I know I saw my friend wearing a Cloud9 sweater a lot,
Okay.
and he was like watching something on his phone that regarded like Cloud9, like in the
Hmm.
championship or in the
Yeah.
tournament. So I was like, oh, they must be pretty good. I just saw the sweater, but I really
Okay.
didn't know anything about it. But yeah,
What about Team Liquid? Why did you put them number 2?
Team Liquid, that's a team you always talk about. That's a team that you have
Okay.
the sweater on. So I was like, oh, if he supports them, they must be pretty good. But they're not really winners. But I don't know. We'll see. That's just like my thing. Like, because I
And
know you don't like to cheer.
why is
Yeah,
Golden Guardians 3?
Golden Guardians. I recognize them because they're from the Golden State Warrior. So
Is that the only reason?
yeah, pretty
It's
much.
fine.
Yeah,
Okay, just wondering. Okay. And 100 Thieves 4, why?
100 Thieves. To be honest, I follow this person on Twitter. Who she always talks about. She's part of 100 Thieves, and she's a Twitch streamer. I think her name's like Nicolo or something.
Oh God.
So it's like she always talk about 100 Thieves. Like, oh, her team must be pretty good.
Do you know
But
her relationship with the team?
I do not know. I thought she was
So
actually. I thought she was actually part of the team.
no, so she's part of the team technically. It's like she's kind of like a partner streamer because they'll promote her, she'll promote them. They'll do things together. Like she promotes their like apparel, and they invite her to events. So it's like a mutual relationship. So that's the only reason we put them number 4.
Yeah, pretty much. I just recognize like the top four. Pretty much just like I just recognize them.
And then TSM 5, why?
The logo looks sick.
That's it?
Yeah, and they look like
Okay.
legit freaking contenders.
I feel like honestly, your power rankings, if you switch Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, you can make an argument that these are serious. Like, I mean, I don't agree with all of them because I'll show you mine a bit. But if you switch Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, you could honestly be like, these are my serious power rankings. And most League fans, they'll disagree with you, but they'll be like, oh, you're not delusional. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of scary how almost close you are. Like, you are not that far off from like what most people would put. Like the only ones that I would change in here for you to make, and you could present it to, and like most League fans would be like Golden Guardians and FlyQuest. And then they would probably disagree and be like, "Oh no, like Cloud9 2, Team Liquid 1, for example, because that's what I did." But I'm surprised. What about the rest? Did any of the rest, like, why did you put FlyQuest last?
I don't know. I didn't like their logo that much, to be honest. It looked kind of like to me.
Okay,
It looked very generic. So you're telling me Golden Guardians is like one of the worst teams?
it's probably gonna be the worst team next season. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, more likely.
So okay.
Yeah.
I just like I thought like oh my god Bay Area Tech
So they were
they're
good
having
last year, but remember,
okay.
so okay, so I won't talk about it too much, but like I mentioned last episode, Golden Guardians lost a lot of their funding because of NBA losing money. So they had to sell their team. Their team last year was the 4th best team, 4th or 5th, arguably. And they lost their funding. So they sold their team completely to 100 Thieves, which I'll talk about later. And um, because of that, Golden Guardians is going with what they call the best team made up of players you've never heard of. They're going with a bunch of
Oh,
randos. And if it works, they're geniuses. If they work, they will get the most bang for their buck. But it's probably not
mhm.
going to work.
So I see them like NBA equivalent rise as just like being I don't know just like the Charlotte Hornets, just like a team that got the team that got Gordon Hayward just to
What does
join
that
them,
mean?
but
Oh,
like they're not gonna be as good, but they got like names like Gordon Hayward and a bunch of other guys you haven't heard of.
okay. And yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. And then FlyQuest, I mean, I'll show you mine a bit, like at the end. And it's kind of scary how close we are actually. Like, Yeah, it's crazy. Like you're like I would only switch those two, and you can make a case for it being like Any other
Yeah, it's
comments about? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's like oh, because Cloud9 and Team Liquid is like what I always hear people talk about. I was like, are
Mhm.
they rivals or are they like what are they?
I wouldn't say they're rivals. I don't think there's many rivalries nowadays. I think because so the biggest rivalry used to be TSM and COG, but COG's been so bad for so long. It's not really a rivalry anymore. Um, I would say so. The thing is, and this is kind of like a topic, but a lot of rivalries used to be between players, and a lot of these players are
Mhm,
changing pretty fast lately. So esports is different in that a lot of fans identify with players mostly, or you have the few people that are like, oh, TSM, ride or die, or whatever. But most people, including
mhm,
myself, are fans of the players first and the team second, which is something that the teams themselves have had to like come to terms with and how to like get a long lasting fan base. Unlike traditional sports, you don't get to be like, oh, that's my hometown team. That's why I cheer for them. Like I'm sure, I don't know, some dog shit team. Like who did you say? Who do you say was dog shit? The Thunder, Oklahoma City.
yeah, the Thunder, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure people that are from Oklahoma City are probably like, oh, that's my team. Even if we're last, that's my team, right? You don't have that in
Mhm,
esports, and that's why the rivalries are mostly by players. Like we had the Bjergsen and Double Lives, which are they just retired, but they had a pretty rivalry friendship thing going on. Um, and other players, and I would say if anything, the rivalries are between, like, for example, an example is this player called Damonte, for example. Damonte got kicked out of Dignitas a couple years ago, and now he likes beating his former team, So there's like, I wouldn't say there's like these classical esque games, um at least not in North America anymore. It doesn't feel as loaded as before. Before it was more emotionally charged. Now it doesn't hit the same. But I think that just because the league's maturing, and the scene has changed a bit, um, it would be
mhm,
great to have some more, interesting narratives. But right now, I would say the narrative that North America is going into this year is a year of redemption. Everyone,
yeah,
North America is waiting for their next chance at playing at an international stage and hope that they can, you know, um, change people's perceptions of them. Because right now, everyone considers the worst region out of the main regions, and it's not even close right now. So that's kind of what we're waiting for, and that's pretty much the narrative this year. I don't think there's much infighting because a lot of people, like, I personally don't care about any rivalries because I care about North America doing well at the World Championship. That's like our playoffs. Like the way you feel about playoffs in the NBA, that's how we feel
mhm,
at the World Championship. So
yeah,
there is some regional stuff, but it's more about your region, not really a specific team. Um, Other than like TSM, I would say most fans are pretty fluid, dude. They're like team fluid. TSM is the only one that has people actually like ride or die, and that's because they're one of the OGs, I think, and they do a lot of winning. But this is gonna be a crazy year for them. I don't have much more to add to your for
like
fun. Like I said, I'm impressed for the
yeah,
most part that you did so well.
yeah. I just the top four just based on like name
Mhm.
recognition, but yeah, and Evil Geniuses. I don't know. I like the name, but like and yeah, Immortals. I should have put that higher, but I don't know. I'll just like the
No,
last like
dude,
3 ones. I'll just be asking. Like, yeah,
dude, honestly, like from COG to Immortals, you could like I think that's what I have. No, you're pretty close to what I have, but it's like you're pretty spot on. Like it's crazy. Like I said, only thing, and you'll see mine. The only thing that I would like change if I was in the Golden Guardians, and then you could argue that these are serious. It's crazy.
yeah,
Anyways,
and
so now go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So like yeah, what you're saying. So like your rivalries are based off of more player rivalries, like a player leaving a team and going to another team, right?
Yeah,
That's
for
like
sure.
okay,
That's a way. I mean, obviously the least to team rivalry, but so very few teams. Like I think since the League of Legends LCS, so that's what we call our league LCS started. I think the only teams that have won have been Cloud9, TSM, Team Liquid, and COG. So 4 out of the 10 teams have ever won, and So Cloud9 won at the beginning, like a couple years, like 2 in a row. Then TSM won like 2, 3 in a row. Then COG won like 2 in a row. Then TSM won 4 in a row. Then Team Liquid won 4 in a row. And then this past year, Cloud9 and then TSM won. So it's usually the same people at the top. So like it's like the rivalry just isn't there. It was mostly between players because even though 4 teams have won, most of these championships were split between like Doublelift and Bjergsen, and they both just retired. Like we just lost like the 2 biggest players ever for the North America, and it would be horrible if it wasn't for a couple of additions. But I'll get into that later. And yeah,